Welcome to the Pro Aging Podcast. I'm Steve Gurney, founder of the Positive Aging Community. We're excited that you can join us for our interactive discussions with pioneers and thought leaders on a wide variety of topics related to aging and longevity. We're able to bring these discussions to you along with copies of the Positive Aging Sourcebook thanks to the support of our Positive Aging Community champions. Visit proaging.com to connect with them and find hundreds of other resources. Well, today I have a great discussion to share with you. This is a recording of a live and in-person event we did at JK Moving's headquarters, right next to their innovative training house in a warehouse. We had an awesome audience of people there who were thinking about downsizing and dozens of influential senior serving professionals. We were welcomed by Chuck Kuhn, the founder of JK Moving as well. But what you're about to listen to is a segment, the interactive discussion with four individuals sharing their personal stories about moves for themselves or their loved ones, downsizing and moving to senior living options, and the emotional challenges and successes surrounding that. We also have some audience interaction as well. So I hope you enjoy this, and I hope we can continue to pull together programs like this in the future, listening, reflecting, and learning from each other. So let's jump into the conversation at JK Moving headquarters. As you can tell, most things that I do are not scripted at all. But Lisa teed up this program today perfectly, because one of my goals, and those of you who attend our weekly discussions, you see that whenever possible, I try to get real people on the stage. I mean, let me tell you, there are so many experts in this room on how to move and what to do, but when you really get right down to it, the reason you're buying Lisa's book is because you're hearing stories of 17 years of moves. And today, I am blown away that these four people are joining us, because they've all been through different moves, whether for themselves in downsizing or helping their loved ones with downsizing and moving. And so our goal is we're going to first get to know each of them a little bit better, find out about their situation, and then we really want to make this interactive. So the experienced professionals in the audience, you can use these as talking points to say, oh man, what about doing this? And then for those, I'm also delighted that we have people in the audience today that are actually making moves. They're here because they're dreading, these types of decisions. So I think we've got a really cool day planned. We'll do this panel, and then we're going to leave a little bit of time for some of the JK experts to give us some moving hacks, okay? And then we can do more networking, can tour the training house, we'll give away more books, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Does that sound good, guys? Okay, and we're on time here. Okay, so here we go. What we're going to do first is we're going to get to know our panel members here. And I'm going to start with Jeannie, if that's okay. And let's first just do a round of who you are, and then we'll do a round of your moves.
I am Jeannie Raditz. I've been retired for 15 years from the healthcare industry. My last three jobs were Sunrise, Capital Hospice, and Corbett Technology Solutions. They were my favorites. And my husband and I, in 2005 and 6, built a 3,000 square foot, designed and built a 3,000 square foot home on 3 acres. And we loved it. We put much labor and sweat and love into that. And it was very senior friendly. And fast forward 10 years, my girlfriend from high school, a cheerleader friend of mine, we were cheerleaders. And she had moved to a condo in Lansdowne Woods. And she introduced me to the condo, and I loved it. And I went home and spoke with my husband, and he said, let's do this. And 2 years later, we did.
Wow. Okay. And here we go. So our next panel member is Jill, and Jill, tell us your story.
Well, I retired at the end of 2019, and I promptly became a shut-in because of COVID. I was telling everyone I had the world's most boring retirement. But all that time alone, pretty isolated, I'm single, don't have kids, made me realize that I needed connection. And so I made the decision during that time that I wanted to move. And I explored a lot of different opportunities or possibilities, I guess. And I decided I wanted to move to a 55 plus active adult community. And so I did that in June. And I feel like it's the best decision I have made. I'm very happy there. Lots of like-minded people and lots to do if I want or if I don't. And I had the experience of moving my dad and getting rid of all of his possessions and selling his apartment. And so that informed me a lot about what I was going to be facing.
Okay, thank you, Jill. And then I'm going to pass the mic over here to Karen. Janet, gosh, I got so many names going through my head.
I've been called worse.
Okay, good. And who's going to tell us a little bit who you are and about your situation. And so you'll see we didn't assign seating, but you'll see the theme. This is planning primarily for yourself, and now we're going to move to helping our loved ones make a move.
Yeah. So I grew up in the area in Washington, D.C., and my parents moved to Pennsylvania in 1974. So they built a community, and that was their home. My dad passed. My mother stayed in their home. And at age 90, she was still living completely independently. And at age 90, she had a health episode where I literally was called at 8 p.m. and said, "Get up here, we're taking her to the hospital." So even though she's 90, in my mind, I'm totally stunned and shocked. It's like, how could this happen? So I'm up in Pennsylvania, and while I visited many times, I'm not familiar with the area. She was there for 5 days, and a social worker walked down the hall on a snowy day and gave me a list of 5 rehab facilities and said, "We're moving her tomorrow. Which one should we send her to?" And I looked, my very first thought was, where's my brother? But after that thought, it was, this will never happen to me again. And so I was able to select one. She was there for 3 months, and then we moved her here to be near me just because she needed some care. We moved her to assisted living because that's what we were advised to do. She was there from age 90 to 91. She didn't need assisted care. And so we moved her to independent living, which is where she has been since, for the last 5 years. And because of the care that we've been able to get, Care Connections, Elder Tree, others, it has made it a very doable situation, and she is happy and content. We almost moved her with Lisa at Organizing Mentors. She came in and did the whole plan, helped us. My mother said, "Yes, I will, yes, I will, yes, I will." "No, I won't." And so she's still in the apartment where we first contracted, but if she ever wants to move down to one other place, Lisa's there ready to go. So without the help, I wouldn't be able to do what I've been able to do for our mother.
Excellent. And our next panel member is Gail, and thankfully I only botched one name up here today. And Gail, tell us a little bit about your story.
Well,
Okay.
so to that point, it's actually Susan Gale. I didn't even know you knew my middle name.
That is kind of funny, calling her by her middle name. Oh boy.
Didn't even know it, right? You did? Oh, okay. So my story, actually, it's almost like she's telling my story. Wow, how did this happen? So mine is about my mother as well. She is now 95 years old, lived on her own in a 3-level townhome until she was 88. She was in perfect health, an exercise, not fanatic, but she was very committed, healthy eater, worked out every day, walked. And it was really important to her to maintain her health. So she had planned all along. She was a smart woman and very determined. She planned all along to retire and move when the time came to a condominium at Reston Town Center. She had purchased a unit at the Savoy, ground level, and it had always been her plan she was going to go there. So we moved her. That was my first move at 88, and she loved it there. I mean, it was absolutely fabulous. She, like your mom, took no medications, was completely independent, very strong. And then again, like your story, a health event. She had a minor stroke that when it was all over, after 5 days in the hospital, basically they said, she can't be left alone. She's a fall risk. You need caregivers. And I was like, oh my, what do I do? So after going through months of trying to hire and manage, 5 caregivers is the number that we had at one point in time, just to manage day and night, weekends, because, I had no idea what any of this was about. So after going through that, we said, we just can't keep doing this. I mean, the expense is amazing. So number one lesson learned is, boy, plan financially for this, because it's costly. So we decided to move her into an assisted living facility, made all the visits to try to decide which one, and she did not want to go, like your mom. No, not going. Finally convinced her. She moved, and it was good. It was pretty good. She was in assisted living for about a year and a month, and then another health event, congestive heart failure, back in the hospital 7 days, and then that was when it was okay. When she's released, where are we gonna go? So luckily, my friend Steve was available to talk with my sisters, and I have 3 sisters who don't live in the area, so they all came. We all huddled. We got Steve on the phone on a conference call. Amazing advice on who to talk to, introductions. We visited, and within 3 days we had made a decision on a facility for memory care and moved her in. After her 7-day hospital stay under hospice care. That was another challenging thing to try to figure out and understand. But she's been in this new facility now a month, almost 2 months, and it's amazing. Her recovery from this heart failure and the strength she's building and how happy she is there and the care she's getting, it's amazing. So I've been through a lot of the negative stuff, but there's also been some really incredible positive things too. And I can't say enough about the people in this business and the compassion and care that everyone shows. It's absolutely amazing. And I'm glad to hear the JK Moving does it too.
I love it. No, this is great. So the cool thing is we got some great stories here, and they intertwine because, as we've learned over here, part of the reason that these two are made moves is because of some of these stories that you're hearing here. Once you've experienced a caregiving situation, you realize that you need to make some moves. So now what we're going to do is we'll just we're going to make this random conversations, and then I'd love for you in the audience to join in and ask questions or follow up or what have you. But one of the things when the 4 of us were huddling on the phone is that one of them said something like, it's not like a checklist. A lot of this is just the emotions of going through the move. And so maybe I'll kick things off for this next round of, you can share whatever you'd like to share, but maybe talking about the emotions of whether it be your possessions or this beautiful 3,000 square foot home that you lived in. Jeannie, if you want to kick it off.
And that's where I began another life. My husband...
Put it closer to your mouth. Yeah.
My husband was showing to me signs of being unable to keep up with the property and the equipment. And being in healthcare, having been involved in Alzheimer's Association, I used to ride the Tour de Canal, grand charity ride, and raising money. And my mother's baby brother died of end-stage Alzheimer's at the age of 83, from 80 to 83. That was it. And it's your gene pool. And his mother lived, my husband's mother lived with us for 4 years in this nice senior designed house, and she had vascular dementia. And I'm noting his behavior and forgetfulness, and I buy the condo in Lansdowne Woods, and it's been an adjustment because he's only been diagnosed with Alzheimer's for 3 years now, and he's only accepted that for about 2 months. Yeah, and he has had to pare back from his wood shop, but there is one at Lansdowne Woods, and I was not on the same emotional plane that he was, because he rejected having Alzheimer's, even though he was aware of his forgetfulness. And I was just so glad to put that beautiful home behind it. It went to a minister by the name of Reverend Wishmeyer. I mean, could I make that up in a book? It sold for cash and full price. And so my husband jokes about this. His brother was very ill when the house sold. It sold in one day, and I got power of attorney, put him on a train to go see his brother in Florida, bought a condo. He said, don't ever give your wife a credit card or power of attorney. So that's where we have evolved, and he's remaining very functional. He went through the memory clinic at Hopkins, and now they have us. They get our spinal fluid and our blood and our MRIs, and we're part of their clinical trials. Yeah, and that's what we're marching about.
Well, Jeannie, one of the things, and this is a tip that I've heard for many years, is that putting your husband on the train to go away during the moving process is actually a great solution. I've heard from a lot of the move managers where once you hire like a move manager and you've got your floor plan, you know what you're taking, couples go away on a cruise so that they don't even need to be there through this whole process.
And because so much of it was on my responsibility, I just had to take the reins and send him away.
And
it worked.
And right now, I mean, for those that aren't familiar with Lansdowne Woods, it used to be Leisure World, Virginia. We're all familiar with Leisure World, Maryland. But right now, it sounds like you're in a community with other people. His dementia is not progressed to the point
right. He's
where,
on a medication.
Yeah. Have you started thinking about another move or what might happen after this?
It's really sort of caught us into energy mode, and we're just spending so much energy with clinical trials and water volleyball, going to the gym and working out. I just retired from jazzercise, but I participate in all the community physical activities, and just sort of keeping our heads above the water. We haven't gone there yet, but that is going to be a turn in the road.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, here, if you want to pass the mic to Jill. Jill, now, the interesting thing, Lansdowne Woods is a high-rise senior living multifamily in Virginia. Jill, the community that you chose is single-family homes in Maryland, and it was brand new construction, correct?
Right. There's actually condominiums, villas, and single-family homes. I moved to a single-family home. I wanted a yard, and I wanted one-floor living. I do have a basement, but the basement is sort of auxiliary, and actually I was sharing that I had a bedroom put in the basement in anticipation of my future where, I may need a caregiver to live with me, and so that they would have their own room and their own bathroom and, their own living space down there. So the basement's really for other people, and I live on the main floor now. As I alluded to, I had the experience of moving my dad to learn from, and I learned some hard lessons in that move. One, I hired an estate salesperson who was pretty unscrupulous, and it ended up costing me money. I ended up paying people to take away, all the things that didn't sell. And so obviously that wasn't going to be an option, for my next move. For my move, I did hire an auction company to sell some of the things that that I had retained from my parents, and some of my things, my Barbies, that kind of stuff, which they sold for a lot of money. My Barbies and my platform shoes. But anyway, so that went better. But I also have to say that choosing the right real estate agent made all the difference for me, because I had used this agent for my dad's sale, and they had given me great advice about what to repair, what to rehab, and we got a great price for my dad's condo. He needed that money to live on, so I hired them again when I moved, and they provide a lot of extra services, which was very helpful to me, not only from just a physical point of view, but from a mental point of view. They, first of all, gave the same kind of advice about here's where you need to invest in, upgrading this or updating, something in your house. Secondly, they staged my house, and then they provided the movers and the truck to move the things that didn't need to stay in my house to storage. And that was all, part of the same fee. I didn't pay extra for any of that. So that was a big benefit to me. The one thing I mentioned this to Steve is that if you're going to let someone stage your house, just make sure they don't take your favorite chair if you're going to be there for a long time. Because I ended up watching television sideways for 4 months, and it wasn't great. But anyway, so that was a big help. I also enlisted the help of a lot of people. I mean, I've always been very self-reliant, but I had to realize I couldn't do it all myself. And so friends helped me, with some of the packing. I hired organizers, actually, when I moved to my new house, to help me unpack and put things away in a way that made sense, and, saved me the physical labor of all of it myself. And so I would just really say that having that extra help made a huge difference. It's psychologically very difficult. I mean, just even getting rid of my parents' stuff, forget my stuff. Like, there was a dining room set that my mom had saved for years. Like, she loved it. She went to New York to the show house, to buy it, and it meant so much to her. I couldn't give it away when I was having to downsize my dad, and it hurts. It hurt me for her. I mean, she isn't with us any longer. She doesn't know, but I knew how much it meant to her, and it meant nothing to anybody else, and that was painful. And so I think that's the thing you have to really prepare yourself for, is that your stuff isn't meaningful to anybody else. And you've got to be willing to let go of it and just take what you need and what really, really means a lot to you and let the rest of it go.
I'm going to interrupt you real quick here, because you bring up a question is that of those things that you got rid of, is there anything that you're sort of like, oh, geez, why did I get rid of that? Or is it, what have you stumbled into that? Or is it, a lot of people that I talk to are sort of like, I didn't need any of that stuff. I don't know why I was so emotional about it.
Well, there's two parts to that answer. One is I wish I had kept my Barbies longer, because I think they'd be worth more now after the movie. But secondly, the answer to that is really no. And in fact, I kind of have a purging bug now. I did bring a few extra things that, more than I needed to my new house. I wasn't quite sure where everything was going to go. And now I'm faced with wanting to get rid of it. I don't want it. I don't want anything extra anymore. And I want my house to be really organized, so I know where everything is. And then in case I start forgetting things, maybe my muscle memory will help me find my keys. And no, I really, it was very freeing. I got rid of a lot of paperwork, and I got rid of a lot of objects. I kept the things that were really, really special to me, and that's it. It was hard, but I'm really glad I did it.
But this is awesome. Here, let's let our two other panel members comment, and now we're kind of transitioning from the move on their own back to helping somebody else move, and I think the theme here is the emotion and stuff, and but feel free to just share any thoughts.
And some lessons learned, because 7 years ago I did move to a a home. It has a main floor master. It has a full basement in case I need, care. So I'm planning ahead. But I didn't know about all these services. I packed every box myself. I unpacked every box myself. And I told my kids, I have 2 adult kids and their spouses, and I said, so the next time a box is packed in my house, you better be putting me in one, because I'm never doing this again. And so then we moved our mother down here, and in her mind this was temporary, so she would not let us sell her home. So that home in Pennsylvania has remained empty for 6 years. At the same time, I have a dear friend who passed away. I was her power of attorney, and I am now her trustee and her appointed representative. So she died in January, so I had to clean that out. And it's what you said. I knew how important those things were to her. And the dining room table in particular, she actually wouldn't move into an independent living unless she took her tape measure and measured to make sure that the dining room table would fit in the space. And I had to watch that go out the door, along with a lot of other things. And I tried my best to give away what I could. So I told my kids one other thing, and that is I have a little file of info for them, and I added to the note, and I said, I've learned that things are really important to me, and they're there because they have a story, and I want them, I love them, but they're not yours. If you want them, take them. If you don't, feel free. And I laugh because I think my daughter and my daughter-in-law would not need that advice. I think they would be happy to get rid of anything. I think my son might want to hold on to things. But then right after I cleaned out my friend's home, we had an offer on my mother's home, and she said, yes, you can sell it. So post haste, that thing was sold like immediately, and we had to clean that out. And I worked with my brother. I hired somebody to help in Maryland. I hired somebody to help in Pennsylvania. And I was standing there with my brother saying, what do we do? And he said, Janet, I've lived without this stuff for 65 years. So even if we make a mistake, it is what it is, because I was left to do most of it. He lives far away and doesn't have a flexible job. And the organizers helped me in Maryland and helped me in Pennsylvania by supporting me, by saying, it's okay. If you can't make this decision today, we'll make it tomorrow. What decisions can you make today? And slowly but surely, this massive amount of stuff just got smaller and smaller and smaller, and we were able to make decisions. My brother and I worked together on this, and I could not have done it. And so when we were going to move my mother, the first person I called was Lisa, and man, she came right over. It's like, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. And with what I told her I wanted. I mean, not that she was making decisions, but she was supporting what I said I wanted. And so we're ready for that next move ahead of the move. So I think the point is getting help. And a little ancillary to that, a year ago we hired Care Connection. Sherry's here. Sherry is the companion and the supporter. And I think what's important to know is, all of us would agree, I think, that when you hire any kind of help, it's very intense and it's very personal and it's very attached to the family. And for Lisa and for Sherry in particular and others, it's about our connection. And one thing we all have in common is a sense of humor, and that's critically important to me. But even the place where my mother lives, the head of independent living, will say Sherry has made a huge difference in our mother's lifestyle. And that, I mean, Sherry has given her this independence for as long as possibly we can. My mother would wear the same outfit every single day, and Sherry sets out different things and talks her into it.
And then I said, which one do you want? She said, it doesn't matter, pick one. Now she's at that point, but I just pick a nice one.
She does, and Sherry can touch things that I'm not allowed to touch. Sherry can organize papers. Sherry can do all this work. And actually, my mother's home was empty for so long, but we did have a housekeeper who had worked with my mother since 1974, and our whole family always calls the housekeeper the good daughter. So She was there all the time, and that also, she gave my mother some opportunity to have an extended period of independence when she was in Pennsylvania. So for me, it's about finding that connection and those people that help and welcoming them as members of your family. My mother cannot remember Sherry's name, and my mother says, "Who's that girl who comes with you?" and makes me take a shower.
I'm like, I'll take all of her dirty stuff. She'll be like, no, you do it. I'm like, okay.
So this is really great because, again, this can be a team effort, and there's so many people out there to help. But as you said, most of us don't know that. We think we got to carry the whole weight on our shoulders. But so you mentioned the senior move manager, the organizers, Care Connections, which your mom's in an independent living, so she's not getting services. So you see the value of having somebody come in and provide support. But even if she was in assisted living, nobody's going to help her with her bills and things like that. So
I do all that. So.
Yeah, but there are folks that can help with that.
Oh,
but,
really? I did not know.
Oh yeah, it's called Daily Money Managers.
All right.
Yeah. But the one service that I heard you mention at the beginning is aging life care management. That you also hired an aging life care manager.
In Pennsylvania, when I was in the hallway thinking, what in the heck do I do about this? That was the first group. I didn't even know they existed. I call them case managers. I don't know. So they would go and visit my mother in the rehab. And by the way, nothing's perfect. I don't know if I made a good decision or not, but I know that the case manager happened to be a nurse. And I went up every weekend, but she would go during the week, and she would say, "Janet, this is wrong, that is wrong, get this test done, do that, advocate for your mom." I had no idea about that. So we got through that. When we moved her down here, I found a place to place her, but I hired a case manager, and my mother kept saying, "Who is she? Why is she here?" And I said, "To help me, Mother. It's a person who can give me some guidance," and they actually helped when it was clear that she did not need assisted living. So we were able to rely on them. They, by the way, found us Care Connections. So it is kind of this community that you create together.
I love it. Thanks. And Susan Gale, thank you, Jane. Yeah.
So we're back to the emotional side, I guess. An interesting part of what you said, the idea of having your loved one leave so that you can move them. Because my mom initially was just totally against moving into assisted living out of her condominium. She's like, no way. And we toyed with it, and we talked about it, and ultimately made the decision we couldn't do it. And that is one of the hardest things that I think that we've all gone through as the family, that, we're making decisions for her. She's still, sharp in that she understands what's going on. Her short-term memory is terrible. She's, getting into the more serious stages of dementia, but she's still a human being who, had her ways of doing things, and we wanted to be respectful of her. And so that was probably the hardest thing as we've gone through each one of these moves, is just recognizing that this was a big deal for her, and we wanted her to be happy. I mean, that was goal number one. So, but as far as the moving part of it, I think we did it in stages. So the first time she moved from her 3-level townhome into the condominium in Reston Town Center, we had a lot to get rid of. And luckily, my son just happened to be moving into an apartment and had nothing. And so we pretty much furnished his apartment. I mean, kitchenware, art, furniture, rugs, I mean, everything. This, of course, was after we did the floor plan, which I love floor plans. I do them when I move, I've done every one for her. I figure out exactly measuring what can go where, make sure her favorite things, go first and are in the right spot. And then the next step is giveaway. Son took a lot. My son, her grandson. And then the family, the sisters and others, we took pictures. We had this whole thing going around with texts where we'd take pictures and we'd send them to everybody, the grandkids, their kids, nieces and nephews, and would send back with circles, and it became this fun game where, everybody would circle what they wanted, and whoever got it first, was going to get it. So it really made it kind of a fun thing out of it, and it got everybody involved, and it made her feel good that people wanted her stuff and took it. But then when that's done, and you've made the move, and you still have a lot of stuff, this is where I struggled. I didn't know really what to do, and ended up having to call junk haulers. And I know they told us that the stuff was going to go to donations, and it was going to be recycled, and all these things were going to take place. I don't know if that really happened. I don't know if that's true or not, but we did that. We did that the first time. We did it the second time. But the third time, obviously you're moving from a big, townhome to a 2-bedroom condominium to a 1-bedroom assisted living to a room with, no kitchen or anything else. That was just a pared down version of it. So I don't think it was quite as monumental or as stressful at that point. But all along the way, in every choice, it was agonizing because you just want to do the right thing for your mom and make sure she's happy. So, that's kind of my take on the emotional side of it. And I understand, and I love the story you told about the people that helped. I didn't take advantage of that probably as much as I should have. I'm the sister here doing everything, and I'm kind of, I want to do it. And so the floor plans, the management, the hiring, I used a care.com as a way to find caregivers. I didn't want to hire a company to do the management aspect of it. I'm not sure why. I probably have a lot to learn on that, and there's always future decisions to make. But that part of it is also, I think, the hardest. It's so hard to meet someone, to interview someone, to have them interact with your loved one, and even when you're looking at facilities, potential facilities, you just don't know. And then you go, and you're like, oh, did I make the wrong decision? What do I do now? But the thing I've learned from that too is don't be afraid to make the change. If it's not right, if you don't feel in your gut that it's right with the people and the way your loved one is interacting, do it. It's in the end, I think it works out to be better. I'm gonna have to make a plug because she's at Brightview Senior Living at Dulles Corner. It is a fabulous brand new facility. It's like a luxury apartment building, very modern. It's absolutely beautiful, and it's in a place where there are young people. There's a dog park behind, a park for kids to play on, a playground. She looks out of her window and sees the street where kids are coming home from school, and people are pushing their carriages and walking their dogs. And I just think that is such a fabulous concept. I wish more places would really think about that as they think about where to place these facilities, because these older people love young people, youth, all of this, animals. It's such an amazing thing to see her as she enjoys this place. But so far, so good. Have to give kudos to them.
I love it. All right. Well, this is great, and I know our panel has more to share, but I think one of the best ways for them to share is to field some questions from you all, because I figured we can do this for a few more minutes, and then we'll get some JK moving hacks. Any questions and comments from the audience? Yes, ma'am.
First of all, this is amazing because I'm in all phases of this, so I'm finding it like emotional and informative and emotional. We work for a real estate company, and you said picking the right real estate agent is so important. I, of course, work for a real estate company, and I totally believe that. My mother was a real estate agent, and I watched how she worked with people and the relationship she kept throughout her entire life. And she passed away in December. So, I have a 92-year-old dad, so going through all this stuff, and I'm single, and my children don't want any more stuff, and there's like so many layers that I'm just kind of trying to process all that. But back to what you said, what did your real estate agent do that was so important to you? And that's a personal thing, but it's also, I want to know. I need my agent to know I'm not an agent. I want our client care. But it's important for me to understand that so we can coach our agents and she can think about anything about this. It's hugely important. So
Yeah, it's a great question, and I know there's other realtors in the audience, but Jill, if you want to kick that off, and if any of you all have feedback on professionals that you've hired to help you through this, and what are some of the qualities, and what are some of the bad things that like made you turn you off to a particular provider?
I think part of it was just chemistry, right? You know, you have to feel comfortable with the person, trust that person. I mean, I just had a sense that she was a good person, and I met other people from the team, and they were all really helpful and very positive and very responsive. That was, you know, a big deal because you have so many questions and there's so much going on. And but really it was, besides that, besides just the good feeling about it, was the actual help that was provided of, you know, bringing the stager in, and I could work with the stager and, you know, make decisions with them about what to leave and what to move, and then actually moving the stuff for me. It was because it was overwhelming, you know, really overwhelming for me by myself to contemplate all of this. And in my situation, because my house was being built, it was a pretty protracted amount of time between when I started working with the real estate agent and when I actually physically moved. So, you know, during those months, you know, we were in touch all the time. You know, we decided when to put the house on the market. The house sold immediately for, you know, over asking. So, I mean, what more do you want than that? You know, but just, you know, I had been exploring other options before that too. And so she was kind about taking, you know, showing me some old, you know, one-level homes that maybe I wanted to refurbish instead of moving to this community and that kind of thing. I mean, she just really helped me through the whole decision-making process and then through the actual physical work of it. And it meant everything. I mean, we're friends now, you know, we go out to dinner. So, you know, it was just really, I felt very fortunate.
I love it. And one interesting thing in my career that I've discovered with the professionals that work in this field, that let's say it's an elder law attorney, he or she is part elder law attorney, part social worker. Like what Jill was talking about is most of the people that are in this field of serving older adults, their profession is kind of the expertise and sideline, but it's that extra help that they provide. Do any of our other panel members like to share some insights on that?
This wasn't so stellar a realtor, and I recommend that you never take a realtor that someone in your family has recommended. And that's where it went. But the realtor actually sat down with my husband before in my home at a lovely dining room suite, by the way, and had him sign everything in the contract, and I was on my way home, and she had him sign everything, and I didn't realize that because right behind my getting there was the stager. So the realtor got up and they went off doing their staging realtor thing, and you know, and later on I found out I hadn't signed the contract yet, and he had. And I wanted to negotiate the commission because I'm not a realtor, didn't ever want to be a realtor, but I love selling houses and showing houses, and I've done that twice. I sold my own. But I just knew that wasn't right. So don't let that be right.
And I think what this speaks to, and I think all the professionals in this room, even though you want to win business, is that the value of saying, you know, talk to a couple of my colleagues, pick the one that's best, because when you do that, you're not like, yeah, exactly. And had you eventually chosen that realtor, even though it was a recommendation from a friend or family, you would have compared it to the two others that you talked to.
And having been a realtor, quote unquote, before. Also, one of my recommendations in packing, we packed our own goods, and my daughter helped, and I took the boxes that we were going to be opening up clothes, kitchen. I took a photo of what was in the top of the box, and then I printed it and I put it with packing tape on the top of the box. Now, it might have said bedroom or bathroom or kitchen, but it was such a guide to open that up and go, oh, that's where it is. And along with my husband's symptoms, he was born with ADD, and that doesn't help when you have a workshop and you don't clean. He had his space, and I had my space, which was the rest of the house from the garage. And now we are sharing 1,000 square feet. Yeah.
I love it. Any comments on professionals, choosing professionals, or that? Well, let's. Any other question? Yeah, Lisa.
I often say, when I have the honor to refer a realtor, and I'm usually on the other side of it, I always say to anybody, even organizers, right? Pick someone you connect with. Yeah. You know, and it's usually, especially with it's never about money. For a lot of people it is, but it's like I always say, connect with that person. And Steve, I have to argue with you. Not everyone in our profession does what these ladies are complimenting about.
Yeah, no.
Because I've referred people and I've known people that are just I don't understand.
I was referring to everybody in this room. Yeah. The people that aren't here, no. Yeah.
Who wants to walk out of here?
Yeah. Yep.
And I remember just sitting down with a couple. I wasn't even in the running to help them move, and I sat down and just listened to this man who had Parkinson's. She was very frustrated, the wife, because he couldn't get his words out, and I just sat and listened to him. And she said, when we move, I'm used to it. And I had just gone over, and it's just that. It's just being empathetic and
awesome.
Listen to the person.
Yeah, sure.
And my wife and I do own Care Connect. Not promotion. But she didn't know anything. She writes the check every week. But, or I just pull it.
Maybe it's going to someone else.
It's from us, thank you very much. But I am also a realtor, but not about the real estate, but I agree totally with what all you guys are saying, because I totally connect with my clients and the people that say that we definitely don't earn our commission for speaking full of shit, because I have walked away from deals that I've worked on for months and months and months and months because I'm treated bad, because they walk all over you and stuff, and they expect you to do. I've had things for my clients. I've cut their grass before. I've hired tree people to cut things down and paid for it myself because they didn't think it was important to get the job done. But it made their house sell quicker, they looked better, the staging, or whatever I do. But my daughter just had a baby a few months ago, and she was preemie. And the hospital was insane. This is nothing about me, but it was insane. And everybody that left that room said, is there anything else I can do for you? Is there anything else? And they meant it. So it's a calling. You know, whatever you do should be a calling, or you shouldn't be doing it. So that's how I feel.
Let's see, Rachel, and then we'll get, yeah. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask, I can't remember which one you said you didn't know about what professionals existed and how to get help. And I find very often that I get calls in crisis mode where it's a matter of days, someone's being released from rehab, there's nowhere to go, their funds are tied up in their home. And I think most of us that work with seniors know a lot of that can be prevented through sharing knowledge. How do we as professionals help bridge the gap between the solace that we can offer you as either caregivers or you yourself doing, and what because I hear all the time, I wish I had known that, I wish I had known. So what can we do better?
So I think both of us have a few thoughts on that, but I tell you, one of the things for me is that I wasn't thinking about it enough. And you don't want to think about getting old, and you don't want to think about your parent getting old and having to make all these changes. So somehow it has to be the kind of thing that Steve does, where he brings people together and educates, and I should have known, having attended so many of these sessions and known Steve for these years, but it's a resistance. How do you break through that resistance, and what are the avenues to reach people when they're not willing to? And I don't know the answer. Maybe you do.
I don't know the answer, but I wonder, what are the point of entries? And identifying those and working those. So is it an estate planning attorney? Is it a doctor? Is it, by the time you're in an independent living, perhaps it's gone beyond, but still you don't know what you don't know. So it's just trying to work those avenues where people are naturally in the senior area, community centers, like you were talking about the workshop at Lansdowne Woods. So where is it that seniors are that might be helpful? I know that there are gyms where people go, who are seniors, that kind of thing. So it's just trying to find that and being there. Social work, I'm sure this isn't allowed, but golly, it would have been nice if that social worker in the hospital had something to offer me beside a list. And I will say that I mentioned my mother's housekeeper, the good daughter. She came to visit and she said, Janet, I've heard of this one. And I know your mom has some friends who are in the independent living wing of this. That's how I made my decision on a snowy day in Pennsylvania. And then I thought there's got to be something better. And I don't actually even remember how I found the case manager, but they, in my opinion, saved her life.
All right, let's see. Go ahead.
I just want to add one other thing. As I think about it, I think those kinds of conversations should be happening when you start thinking about retirement. And because you really have to start that early, thinking about it. And I don't, you get all these things in the mail, come to this nice restaurant and, hear about retirement. And it's all financial, but maybe having sort of a joint conversation about that and opening people's eyes would be potentially a way.
The black shirt, and then we'll do a couple more, but I know some of you have to take off, and then we'll do a few more, and we'll do informal conversations. Yeah.
Janet.
So I was interested because of what you said about the case worker patient care. How did the transformation came about? I know that it was stressful and you hospital, but that it was probably the voice for you into how to select or what did you do? Was there a person in the hospital that brought you in or you requested that?
No, that's the whole problem. The social worker in the hospital, and I don't know anything about the role of a social worker in a hospital, so I want to say that all she did was give me a list of 5 agencies, period. There was no other connection, there was no conversation. After I put my mother at the rehab, I somehow found the case manager, and I don't remember how. And that was, for me, the beginning of, wow, there are a lot of opportunities out here.
And that's the aging life care manager. Heather is one here in the front row, but the aging life care manager is a profession of people that you hire.
Right.
See, the person who's handing you the list, they got 20 other people that
Right.
they got to hand lists to. The aging life care manager, and the other cool thing about Heather's profession is even if the kids are paying for the aging life care manager, the client is the older adult. So it doesn't matter what the kids really want. It's advocating for the older adult. And I think, Heather, you were going to ask a question.
Well, people are saying, where do you find these people? And it's at aginglifecare.org. That's where you find them. There's 2,000 of us nationally and in Canada. And, the reason why the discharge planning and social worker at the hospital couldn't tell you is because there's a rule. Medicare says they can't tell you go here and not there.
Right.
We don't have that rule. And aging life care managers, we have such a broad knowledge base. So when you don't even know what you need, we can help you know where to go and give you some guidance around financial issues, legal issues, housing issues, health and medical entitlements. We very high standards in terms of our professional educational experience to be a member. We have a published standard of practice and a code of ethics. I really think that we're the network that can get you connected with everybody else you meet on your team.
And
Awesome.
when I found that group, the group I hired, everything changed. And I knew to hire somebody down here, and I mentioned my friend a couple of times. I hired somebody for her. She only lived 1 month. But even in that 1 month time, there were things they did for me. So I've done it 3 times, but I found the groups by accident is what I'm saying.
Yeah, here's the thing, and I hate to do this because we should be doing this all afternoon, but I'm gonna kind of wrap this up. But some of our speakers, I know Janet needs to head out. We'll hang out, and I hope that we all continue having networking conversations. But part of the big problem that I found is really ageism. Okay, is that we all have an aversion to aging. So no matter what you're telling people, no matter where you're telling them this, they're blind to it. They don't want to hear it. I'm not ready yet. This, that, and the other. The cool thing is, the more of us that go through this experience, the better we are going to be for our children and our loved ones and ourselves. And I think it's wonderful. I don't know about you all, but this was absolutely amazing for me.